Welcome to Brave Inflections. My name is Claudel van Eck. In this video, I want to talk about having the courage to stand with David against Goliath. So those of you who knows the story of David and Goliath is really a story about the small guy standing up against the big guy. And what I've observed is happening more and more is that less and less people are willing to speak up because they find themselves under attack in their organizations. Um, but what worries me more is the fact that when people do speak up, when they are under attack, that they find themselves alone. That there are very few people who have the courage to stand with those who are standing for what is right. Right? So often you would find that people take a stand for what is right, but then they're completely on their own. And this is a very worrying trend, because the more and more you find people standing on their own, the more and more we are creating a culture of silence. And here is one of those things where we have to ask ourselves the question, why is it that when we can see that somebody is being treated unfairly and that that person is in distress, that we would rather just turn a blind eye? And especially when we actually do have the power to change things, right? So you see people in leadership positions watching their peers victimizing others, and they say nothing. And not realizing that what happens in that moment when you make the decision not to stand up when you see somebody else being victimized is that you're taking a little bit of yourself away from yourself. Right? So you become a diminished version of yourself, because between you and yourself, you know that staying silent when you're seeing somebody else being victimized is wrong. So you know it's wrong, and you then therefore know that in your heart of hearts that you've compromised yourself. Uh, and I'm not talking about being silly and not being when you're sitting in a situation where there's a lot of danger. Sometimes one needs to be very strategic about these things. But I'm talking about it in general terms. And when we see in organizations that this happens often, that leaders don't confront their own peers when they actually are in a position to do so. When something happens in front of them that is wrong, that is unethical. The other component thereof as well is how whistleblowers are treated in organizations, and a reason why so many people decide not to blow the whistle is because they find themselves isolated. So you suddenly find yourself ostracized. And from the outside, what we're expecting is that people speak up when they see that something is wrong in their organizations. But we do very little to assist them when they are going through difficult times as a result of taking a stand. So I want to encourage you and challenge you a little bit today and ask this question of you. When you see somebody in your organization being ostracized, being victimized because of the fact that they are standing for what is right, what are you doing? Are you just watching in silence? Or are you actually reaching out to that person and standing with the person? You know, you don't always have to publicly stand with a person, but you can support somebody who's going through a very rough time. Because who knows, tomorrow it may be you, when you're going to need a friend. So when we stand with others, the likelihood of others standing with us then becomes greater. I know it's a challenge. Um, and most of us would go into self-protection mode, and we would start to rationalize and justify to ourselves why we don't stand with those who are being victimized wrongly. We tell ourselves many stories and we deceive ourselves in the process. So have the courage and start small. Start to look at those areas in the organization where, without having to make a ripple, or just standing in the background behind somebody and helping them, encouraging them, and being there for them, making them feel a little stronger because they're not alone. And see what happens. Yeah, see how you become a stronger version of yourself, because you're not just thinking about yourself. You are now starting to make a real contribution to the greater good. Well, with that, I hope I didn't step on your toes too much, and that it actually has encouraged you. And I do encourage you to also go and look at the rest of the website, lots of nuggets on the website. Subscribe to the website. Every time I post something, subscribers get notification via email. And so you'll always be up to date on when I add something else to the website. I hope that you enjoy the website and you actually find some real value in it. And leave some comments. Let me know what you think, and let me know if there are any areas that you want me to address, talk about, or write about. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy.